With the price of flight controllers these days, you need to be recycling whatever you can. What we're going to do in this video is take the flight controller out of this, a Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle, which is actually not a bad flight controller at all. And we're going to put it into this, a 3-inch long range frame. So you can see the flight controller mounted there, VTX at the back, and Express LRS receiver underneath it. Let's get into it. Okay, so how are we going to mount this flight controller? It's got a non-standard mounting pattern for the Tinyhawk flight controller. So what we're going to need is one of these. This is a mount adapter, and we'll take a bit of a closer look at this. Okay, so this mount adapter here is made of FR4 fiberboard. You can see it's 0.5mm thick. Okay, and we've got various holes there drilled for 16x16, 20x20, 25x25 mounting patterns. Okay, so how are you going to get one of these? I'll put some information on my website, and there's the download link as well that you can download the template. Let's jump onto the website and have a quick look at that. Okay, so when you head over to my website, we've got the info page here, and there's some examples of different builds I've done here. More importantly, we've got this. Okay, so this diagram sets out the dimensions of the holes for the flight controller. So if you're designing your own template, that's what you're going to need. Down here a little bit further, we've got a download link. Okay, so this download link, this is actually the CAD file, the DXF CAD file for this template. And what you can do is you can download that. Okay, you just click on there and download it, and you can either cut it out with a laser cutter, or you can adapt it and make a 3D print or whatever you like. And if you want to, down here we've also got a purchase link. You can head on over to the Micron Wings website, my other website, and you can actually purchase it from there as well. Okay, so that's the template. Let's have a look at one example of how you might mount it to a frame. You can see what we've got here. We've used the 16x16 mount. This is the 16x16 mount on the frame, and we're utilizing that, and we've got it mounted hard down on the top plate there and just screwed in from underneath. So we're using the 16x16 mounting pattern, and I've actually trimmed these extra pieces off here, all these 4 pieces off here, to clear the bolts on the frame. These are just the bolts that are holding in the arm, so I don't need them, so I've just trimmed them off. And this is where the Tinyhawk flight controller is going to be mounted. Okay, on these holes here. We turn it over from the bottom. Okay, you can see that we've got clear access there. And on some frames, depending on your frame, you might have to file out. You see I've filed this out, and I've actually filed an area here and these 2 here. So you might have to do a little bit of filing on your frame to make it fit. But that's just an example there. Okay, so with this frame we're quite lucky. We've actually got gaps in the bottom of the frame, and they line up quite well, and we only had to do a little bit of filing. But what about if you have a frame where you don't have the gaps in the right spot? Let's have a look at that. So here we've got an example where we've actually got a 20x20 mounting pattern on the frame, and we've put the bolts in there. These bolts on the template here are the ones that are going to mount the flight controller, obviously. So then this goes on top of there. You can see our 20x20 mounting bolts there coming through the template. And then on top of that, we're going to mount the flight controller. Okay, so there you go. These Tinyhawk flight controllers can have a second life. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build out this frame, and I'm going to stop at different stages along the way and give you a look at the progress. Now the first thing we're going to look at is how to connect the GPS. And if you're familiar with this flight controller, you'll know that we've got 2 UARTs. One UART, we've got a smart audio connected to one of the ports of one UART, which is of course for the VTX. And if you're like most people out there, you've already upgraded your receiver, and the second UART is being used for that. So what we need to do is we need to swap smart audio over onto a soft serial. We need to create a soft serial, swap the smart audio onto that, and that's going to free up one UART to be used for the GPS. So before I show you how to do that, I'm just going to show you my website. I've put a whole heap of resources up there for this flight controller, so we'll take a quick look at that. Okay, so head over to cubefpv.com and go to resources, projects, and this is the link you want here. So on this page, as you can see, we've got a whole heap of clear images of the board and some annotated images as well to show you how to connect things. as well as some other resources that relate to pinout diagrams and things like that. So first of all, let's have a look at how we're going to swap smart audio over on the soft serial. And the best way to do this is just by having a look at the diagram. So here we are with the VTX removed. Now this is TX2, so this is UART2, and this is what smart audio is attached to. And this is simply the video out. If we have a look at the bottom of the board, we've also got two pads here for UART2 on the bottom of the board. Now, smart audio is only using one of these pads, so it's easy to swap that over onto another pad on the board, and the one we're going to use is this LED strip board pad here. So we'll just go down, we'll have a look at this. Just in case you're interested, it's this pin out here, A00, and it's this one here, the resource LED strip. Okay, so with smart audio swapped over onto there, we'll then free up UART2 to use for the GPS. Let's have a look at actually how we're going to do that in Betaflight. Okay, so we'll connect up to Betaflight. We'll come down to the CLI. Now, if you're following along with this and doing this on your flight control, it's always good just to check this yourself. Just type in resource and hit enter. So this will give you a list of the resources. So just have a look through here, and this is one you're looking for here, resource LED strip. Okay, now just make note, it's not LED. This LED here, this is an LED on the flight controller board that blinks. Okay, so we're using the LED strip, this one here. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to free up that A00. So we're just going to type in here. Okay, so I'm going to type in resource LED strip none and hit enter. So it's going to free up that, and we always need to remember to type save. So I like to save in between and then just reconnect again. Okay, we'll go down to the CLI again, and we'll just type in resource, and we'll notice that that is now gone. Okay, so now that we've freed up that resource, we can make our soft serial. And the way we do this is by typing, we're typing resource serial TX11 A00, so the soft serial starts at 10, so 11 is going to be soft serial 1, and we're going to put that on pinout A00. Hit enter and save. Okay, so we'll disconnect again, go into there, and just type resource, and if we have a look through here, if we scroll down a bit, we can see resource serial TX11 A00, so that one's mapped. Now the final thing you need to do is come over to the configuration tab, connect again, come to the configuration tab. Now none of this is going to show up until we go down here. And on the configuration tab, you just need to enable this one here, soft serial. You'll need to save and reboot after doing that. So once we connect again, we can go into the ports tab, and you'll notice that we now have soft serial down here. Okay, now we had, on UART2, we had our VTX. Okay, I'm using a tramp one, so we're just going to put that as disabled, and you can see we've already got VTX tramp on soft serial 1. I'm just going to leave UART2 disabled at the moment, but that's where we're eventually going to put our GPS. The next thing to do is to start soldering. And it's just a simple process of removing the smart audio from the TX2 here. So we're just going to take that off there, and that's going to free up TX2 so we can use that with the GPS. And then we just flip the board over, we get set up here, and that smart audio now goes onto the LED strip pad right here, and that's it. We've now freed up UART2, and we can continue to connect the GPS there. Okay, so with the GPS wired up, you basically end up with this, a whole bunch of wiring. So instead of showing you this, I'm going to show you an image, and you can just pause the video and study this image. Okay, so with all the components mounted, let's take a look at the final setup. Just having a little bit of a look around the quad there. So you can see we've got the analog VTX. This is the HM600, the Goku VTX. And you can see the Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle flight controller in the middle there. At the moment I'm using these these are 1202 6500 kilovolt motors and 3-inch bi-blade props. Of course, at the end of the video, if you go through to the end of the video, I'll update on the final setup that I'm using for the motors. Okay, so that's how it looks. And just before we get into the flight video, a bit of information about the Betaflight settings I'm using for this all-in-one flight controller. I'm actually using 32-bit software for the ESCs. I'm using JESC. You can use JESC, you can use BlueJ, whatever you want. But just a few notes on this particular Tinyhawk 2 flight controller and the settings you'll need to use if you're setting up 32-bit software for your ESCs. Let's have a look at that. Now, once you've installed the 32-bit software on your all-in-one flight controller, whether you're using JESC or BlueJ, what you can do is you can come over to my website, cubefpv.com. In the resources section, you'll find this one down here, BLHeli32 settings. Now, these are the settings that I use for all of my quads. This is my standard setup procedure. And if you go down here, you'll see it's all set out, telling you what to do. There's a video there too. So you can follow through with these setup steps, but there's a few exceptions for this flight controller, because this Tinyhawk flight controller is not as powerful as most later flight controllers. So let's just jump over into Betaflight. Now, if you follow through with the guide, let's go to the configuration tab. When you follow the guide, and for most quads you're setting up, in the configuration tab here, you're going to want to choose an 8K PID loop and gyro. And for that, of course, you're going to want to set D-Shot at 600. Now, we're not going to do that for this setup. Oh, by the way, make sure you set your motor poles. Whatever motors you're using, set the poles. Motor idle should be 5.5. Okay, just as a note, have a look down here with the CPU load. It's sitting at 100%. And this is just one of the problems. When we go to the CLI, and this is if you're using that 8K PID loop, if you just type tasks in here, what we're looking at is the gyro PID frequency, and we're sitting on 5849. So of course that's way off from 8K. Right, so let's go back to the configuration tab and we'll look at what we need to do. Okay, so here we are. So when you're following through that guide on my website, for this flight controller, in the configuration tab, we're going to do a few things differently. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to set this to a 4K PID loop for both gyro and PID loop. We're going to come up here, because we're using a 4K PID loop, we need to use D-Shot 300, not D-Shot 600. So let's save and reboot there, and we'll see what a difference that makes. Disconnect again. Okay, so this time, first thing we'll look at down here in the bottom of the screen, our CPU load is at now 24-25%, which is pretty much where we want it to be. Okay, we'll go down to the CLI tab. We're just going to have a look at the tasks again. And once again, we're looking at the gyro PID loop frequency. And you can see now we're within that 1 to 2% range, 3995, which is almost 4K, which we're aiming for. Okay, so these are the two changes that you're going to have to make to that standard procedure. So when you're following through on the website, just remember when you get to this one here, just make sure you do those special settings for the Tinyhawk flight controller. Okay, so just as we're getting underway here, just a flight down the local beach. So on this flight, we're going to reach a maximum distance of only 2 kilometers. It's not really a long distance flight, and duration of about 13 minutes. Just a quick look around the on-screen display. So on the bottom right here, we've got average cell voltage. Okay, this is not pack voltage, it's average cell voltage. So of course we're using 2S lithium ion battery, and I'm using two 18650 cells. These are the Panasonic 3000 milliamp hour cells. Okay, so on the top left, of course, we got the fly time. The RSSQ DBM is underneath that, and the one underneath that is link quality. Now you might notice that link quality, you might be wondering why is it going from 0 to 300. So this is actually, this flight controller is using Betaflight 4.1, and in Betaflight 4.1 link quality is reported 0 to 300. So it wasn't until Betaflight 4.2 that this was actually scaled to be 0 to 100. So that's what you're looking at there. So the final setup for the quad, I'm using the Goku HM 600mW VTX, and for the motors, these are the motors you actually saw earlier on in the video. It's the Diatome Mumba 1202 6500 kilovolt motors, and they're matched up with the HQ durable prop 3015 prop. It's quite a low pitch prop, and these props are giving really good flight duration. So on this battery that I'm flying with here, it's a lithium ion 2S battery, so that's giving me up to about 15.5 minutes of flight time, and that's going down, that's flying the batteries down to 2.5 volts, which is an absolute minimum. Typically I'd land about 12 to 13 minutes. Just a matter of interest, with a LiPo battery, if you're using a 550 milliamp hour 2S LiPo battery, you'll get about 5.5 minutes. Okay, so from here I'll just fast forward to the end of the flight. And here at the end of the flight, our average cell voltage is down to 2.7 volts. Of course, I can go down to 2.5 and probably push it to 15 minutes, but I'm just going to land here on the safe side. So this is going to work out about a 13-minute flight. And if you'd like a little bit more information about this build, down in the description, there's 2 links there. There's one link to my website for the Tinyhawk resources page, and there's another link for this actual build project with more info and specifics on it as well. So do check that out.